When Maya Rodriguez knocked on a stranger's door at 2 a.m. with a broken-down car and a dying phone, she had no idea she was about to step into the world of Lorenzo Salvatore, a man whose empire was built on blood, secrets, and her father's betrayal. What starts as a desperate plea for help becomes a dangerous trap when she discovers the debt she never knew she owed. One knock, one night, one choice that changes everything. If you're hooked already, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far Maya's story travels. Now, let's begin. The emergency room doors had stopped swinging an hour ago, but Maya Rodriguez could still hear them in her head. That pneumatic whoosh, the clash of metal, the chaos of voices calling out stats and dosages while someone's life hung in the balance. 16 hours. That's how long her shift had been. 16 hours of blood and beeping monitors and families crying in waiting rooms that smelled like industrial cleaner and fear. Her scrub stuck to her skin as she pushed through the hospital's back entrance into the October night. The cold hit her like a slap, sharp enough to make her gasp, but not sharp enough to clear the fog from her brain. She fumbled for her keys, hands shaking, not from the cold, but from exhaustion so deep it lived in her bones now. The parking lot stretched out before her, mostly empty except for a handful of cars belonging to the night shift that was just beginning. Her ancient Honda sat in the far corner under a flickering streetlight, looking as tired as she felt. Maya had owned that car for 8 years. It had survived 2 accidents, 3 winters, and more repair bills than she could count. She patted the hood like you'd pat an old dog. "Just get me home," she whispered. "That's all I need." The engine turned over once, twice. On the third try, it made a sound like something dying, a grinding metallic scream that echoed across the parking lot. Then nothing, not even a click. "No." Maya turned the key again. "No, no, no, please, not tonight." She tried 5 more times, pumping the gas pedal the way her father had taught her years ago, before everything fell apart. Before he disappeared. Before her life became a constant balance between paying rent and keeping food in the refrigerator for Emma, her daughter. Emma was with Mrs. Chen next door, had been since yesterday morning when Maya's shift started. The woman was kind, never charged much, but Maya hated asking. Hated being the mom who couldn't afford real childcare, who worked herself half to death just to stay broke. She pulled out her phone. 2:47 a.m. Battery at 4%. The AAA app wouldn't load. Maya sat there watching that little spinning circle, willing it to connect, knowing it wouldn't. When her phone finally died in her hands, she pressed her forehead against the steering wheel and let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. The nearest gas station was 3 miles back the way she'd come. The hospital sat on the edge of town where the nice neighborhoods began, surrounded by houses with manicured lawns and security systems. Maya looked out at the street beyond the parking lot, dark except for streetlights spaced too far apart, lined with trees that threw shadows across expensive driveways. She could walk back to the gas station, use their phone, wait for a tow truck she couldn't afford, get home sometime around dawn if she was lucky. Or, Maya stared at the houses visible beyond the hospital grounds. Lights were on in a few windows despite the hour. Someone was awake. Someone would let her use their phone. She grabbed her purse, locked the car out of habit, even though it wasn't going anywhere, and started walking. The neighborhood was the kind of place Maya had only seen in magazines. Every house looked like it had been designed by an architect and landscaped by someone with a degree in making things perfect. The streets were smooth, no potholes like the ones near her apartment that could swallow a tire. The sidewalks were even and clean. No trash, no graffiti. No chain-link fences or bars on windows. She felt like an intruder. Her scrubs were wrinkled and stained with coffee she'd spilled during her break. Her sneakers squeaked with every step. Her hair was falling out of its ponytail in ways that made her look exactly like what she was. Exhausted, desperate, out of place. The first house she approached had all its lights off. So did the second. The third had a porch light on, but when Maya got closer, she saw a security camera pointed straight at the walkway and lost her nerve. She kept walking, her feet starting to ache, her breath coming out in white clouds that disappeared into the dark. The street curved and the houses got bigger. set back farther from the road. The kind of places where people had wine cellars and home theaters and problems she couldn't imagine. That's when she saw it. The house at the end of the cul-de-sac was different from the others. Not bigger, actually smaller, though that was relative. Everything here was massive, but this one had walls around it, real walls, not just decorative ones. 10 feet high, dark stone, topped with what looked like wrought iron. The gate was solid metal, closed, but there were lights on inside, visible over the wall, golden light spilling from windows on the second floor. Someone was awake. Maya stood at the gate, her hand hovering over the intercom button. She could still turn around, walk back, find another house. But her feet hurt and her brain was too tired to make good decisions anymore, and those lights looked warm in a way that made her chest ache. She pressed the button. Nothing happened for long enough that she started to turn away. Then a voice crackled through the speaker, male, young, with an edge that made her freeze. "Yeah? Maya cleared her throat. "I'm sorry to bother you so late. My car broke down at the hospital, and my phone died, and I just need to call a tow truck. I'm a nurse. I just finished my shift. I can show you my ID." Silence. Long enough that she thought maybe he'd walked away. "Please," Maya added, "I have a daughter at home. I just need to make one call." More silence. Then, "Step back from the gate." She did. The gate began to swing open, smooth and silent. Maya hesitated, every instinct screaming at her that this was a bad idea. But she was so tired, so desperate, and she'd just spent 16 hours saving lives. Surely the universe owed her one small favor. The driveway was longer than it looked from the street, curving through landscaped grounds that belonged in a magazine. The house itself was modern, all clean lines and big windows, smaller than its neighbors but more intimidating somehow, like it was designed not to impress but to warn. The front door opened before she reached it. The man standing there wasn't what she expected. Young, maybe late 20s, wearing expensive clothes that fit too well to be off the rack, dark hair, darker eyes, a face that would have been handsome if it wasn't so hard. He looked her up and down with an expression she couldn't read. "Thanks," Maya said. "I really appreciate—" "Wait here." He disappeared inside, leaving her on the doorstep. Maya shifted her weight, looking around. There were cameras. She could see them now, small and discreet, covering every angle. The kind of security setup that cost more than she made in a year. The man came back with a phone. Not a cordless house phone, but a cell, which struck her as odd. He held it out, but didn't let go when she reached for it. "You said you're a nurse?" "Yes, at St. Catherine's. I can show you my, what's your name?" "Maya Rodriguez." Something changed in his face. Not much, just a flicker in his eyes, there and gone so fast she might have imagined it. He let go of the phone. "Make your call." Maya dialed AAA from memory, gave them her information and location, listened to the hold music while her heart rate slowly returned to normal. The man stood in the doorway watching her. Not threatening exactly, but not friendly either. "They're sending someone," she said, holding out the phone. "Should be about 45 minutes. I can wait by my car." "I don't want to—" "You said your last name is Rodriguez." It wasn't a question. Maya nodded anyway, confused. "Your father, what was his name?" The question hit her like cold water. "Why?" "Answer the question." "I don't—" Maya took a step back. "I should go. Thank you for letting me use your phone." "Was his name Miguel Rodriguez?" Maya's blood went cold. Nobody had asked her about her father in years, not since he disappeared when she was 17, leaving her and her mother with nothing but questions and bills and a reputation that followed Maya through 2 jobs and 3 apartments before she finally got far enough away that people stopped knowing who she was. "How do you know that?" The man's expression didn't change. "Stay here." "I'm leaving." Maya turned toward the driveway. "Thanks for the phone, but You need to stay here." Something in his voice made her freeze. Not a threat. Worse. A warning. "Why?" He didn't answer, just pulled out his own phone and made a call, speaking in a language Maya didn't understand. Italian, maybe? His voice was quiet, but urgent. When he hung up, he looked at her differently, like she'd transformed from a stranger into something else. something that mattered. Come inside. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening. Maya Rodriguez. He said her name slowly, like he was testing it. Daughter of Miguel Rodriguez. You really don't know, do you? Know what? Who your father was, what he did, what you are. I'm a nurse with a broken-down car who needs to get home to her daughter, Maya said, her voice shaking. That's what I am. No, the man stepped aside, gesturing into the house. You're collateral, and you need to come inside before someone else figures out you're here. Maya ran. She didn't think about it, didn't plan it. Her body just moved, spinning away from the door and sprinting down the driveway. Her sneakers slapped against the pavement. Her breath came in gasps. Behind her, she heard him swear, heard footsteps following. She made it halfway to the gate before two more men appeared from the shadows near the wall. Big men. The kind who looked like they broke things professionally. Maya skidded to a stop, her heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. Don't touch her. The voice came from behind her, not the young man from the door. This one was different, deeper, older, with an accent that turned every word into something dangerous. Maya turned. The man walking down the driveway was tall and built like violence was a language he spoke fluently. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair going gray at the temples. Wearing a suit that probably cost more than her car was worth when it was new. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath, cold and calculating. The kind of eyes that saw everything and gave away nothing. He looked at her the way a scientist looks at a specimen. Miss Rodriguez. He stopped a few feet away, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive, subtle, wrong for the situation. My name is Lorenzo Salvatore. I believe we have a great deal to discuss. I don't know you, Maya said. I don't know what you want. I just need to go home. Home to Emma. Lorenzo's expression didn't change. Your daughter, 5 years old, stays with Mrs. Chen when you work nights. Lives in apartment 4C at the Riverside Complex on Maple Street. Maya's knees went weak. How do you? Your father stole from me. Lorenzo said it casually, like he was commenting on the weather. $3 million, 15 years ago. He was my father's accountant. Trusted. Until he wasn't. I don't know anything about that. I believe you. Lorenzo tilted his head, studying her. But that doesn't change what you are, what you represent. Your father's debt doesn't die with him, Miss Rodriguez. It passes down. And now that I know you exist, now that you've walked through my gate and given me your name, we have a problem. I'm leaving. Maya tried to sound firm, but her voice shook. You can't keep me here. Actually, I can. The question is whether I should. Lorenzo turned to the young man from the door. Marco, take her to the guest house. Make sure she's comfortable. We'll talk in the morning when she's had time to process. I have a daughter, Maya said, her voice breaking. Please. She's 5. She needs me. I know exactly who she is. Lorenzo's eyes were empty. Which is why you're going to cooperate, because if you run, if you go to the police, if you do anything except what I tell you, I'll know. And Emma will become my leverage instead of you. Do you understand? Maya understood. She understood that she'd knocked on the wrong door, that her father's past had finally caught up with her, that sometimes the universe didn't owe you favors. It just waited for the perfect moment to collect. I understand, she whispered. Good. Lorenzo nodded to Marco. Take her, gently. She's had a difficult night. Marco moved toward her. Maya didn't fight. What was the point? They knew where Emma was. They knew everything. Her legs barely held her as Marco guided her back up the driveway, past the house, toward a smaller building she hadn't noticed before. The guest house was nicer than anywhere Maya had ever lived. Hardwood floors, expensive furniture, a bedroom with a bed that looked like a cloud. Marco showed her how to work the lights and the thermostat, told her the kitchen was stocked, said someone would bring her clothes in the morning. The door locks from the inside, he said, but don't try to leave. There are guards and cameras. What happens now? Maya asked. Marco's expression softened slightly. Lorenzo will decide. Get some sleep. You look like you need it. He left. Maya heard the lock click from outside despite what he'd said about it working from the inside. She stood in the middle of the beautiful room, still wearing her stained scrubs, and tried to remember how to breathe. Her phone was dead. Her car was broken. Her daughter was 3 miles away with a neighbor who probably thought Maya was still at work. And she was trapped in a guest house owned by a man who thought she owed him $3 million for sins her father committed before she was old enough to understand what money meant. Maya walked to the window. The grounds were dark except for security lights along the wall. She could see the cameras now everywhere watching. The gate at the end of the driveway was closed, locked. Even if she could get past the guards, where would she run? They knew where Emma was. She pressed her forehead against the glass, her reflection staring back at her, exhausted, scared, alone. "What did you do, Dad?" she whispered to the ghost of a man she barely remembered. "What did you do?" Morning came too early and too bright. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through curtains she didn't remember closing, disoriented and aching. For a moment she thought maybe it had all been a nightmare. Then she saw her scrubs folded on a chair she didn't own, in a room she'd never seen before, and reality crashed back. Someone had been in here while she slept. The thought made her skin crawl. There were clothes laid out on the dresser, jeans, a sweater, underwear still in the package, all in her size. Maya changed mechanically, her mind working through scenarios and finding no good answers. Every option led back to Emma. As long as they had that leverage, she was trapped. A knock on the door made her jump. "Miss Rodriguez?" A woman's voice, older, with an accent Maya couldn't place. "I've brought breakfast." The door opened before Maya could respond. The woman who entered was short and round, maybe 60, wearing an apron and carrying a tray that smelled like coffee and something baked. She set it on the table by the window, smiled at Maya like this was all perfectly normal. "Mr. Salvatore says to eat. He'll see you in an hour." "I need to call my daughter," Maya said. "Please, she must be so scared." "Mr. Salvatore will explain everything." The woman's smile didn't waver. "Eat. You'll feel better." She left. Maya stared at the food, eggs, toast, fruit, coffee in a real ceramic mug. Her stomach growled despite everything. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten. The hospital cafeteria, maybe. 16 hours ago. She ate. Hated herself for eating. But she ate. Exactly 1 hour later, Marco appeared. "He's ready for you." Maya followed him back to the main house, through a side entrance she hadn't seen in the dark. The interior was like the outside, modern, expensive, cold. Everything looked like it belonged in a museum. Nothing looked lived in. Lorenzo's office was on the second floor, all windows and dark wood and leather furniture that probably cost more than her college education. He sat behind a desk that looked carved from a single piece of stone, reading something on a tablet. He didn't look up when she entered. "Sit." Maya sat. Marco left, closing the door behind him. "Your daughter is fine," Lorenzo said, still not looking at her. "I called Mrs. Chen this morning. Told her you had a family emergency out of town, that you'd be gone a few days. Paid her for the week. Emma thinks you're helping a sick relative." "You had no right." "I had every right." Lorenzo set down the tablet and finally looked at her. In daylight, he was even more intimidating. "Your father stole $3 million from my family. He destroyed evidence, manipulated accounts, and disappeared before my father could make an example of him." "Do you know what my father did to people who stole from him, Miss Rodriguez?" Maya shook her head. "He made them understand the cost of betrayal, usually by taking something they loved. A finger, an eye, a child." Lorenzo's voice was flat. "My father was not a good man, but he was consistent, fair in his own way. If someone owed him money, he collected. If they couldn't pay, he took equivalent value." "I can't give you $3 million, Maya said. "I work as a nurse. I live paycheck to paycheck. Even if I wanted to pay my father's debt, I couldn't." "I know." Lorenzo leaned back in his chair. "I've had people looking into you since Marco called me last night. Single mother, no savings. Student loans you'll be paying until you're 50. You wear the same scrubs rotation every week. You haven't bought new shoes in 2 years. Your car is worth maybe $500 if someone was feeling generous." The casual invasion of her privacy made Maya's skin crawl. "Then let me go. I can't give you what I don't have." "No, but you can give me something else." "I'm not—" Maya stood up. "If you think I'm going to, sit down." Lorenzo didn't raise his voice, but something in his tone made her legs give out. I don't want sex, Miss Rodriguez. I want compliance. What does that mean? It means you stay here. You do what I tell you. You become visible in ways that matter. Lorenzo picked up his tablet again, swiped through something. My world has rules. Debts must be paid. But the payment doesn't have to be money. Your father took from me. Now I take from him. You're Miguel Rodriguez's daughter, living under my roof, under my control. That sends a message. I'm not a message, Maya said. I'm a person. You're collateral. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. Lorenzo's eyes were empty. You'll live here, comfortably. You'll attend certain events with me. You'll be seen. People will know that Lorenzo Salvatore doesn't forgive debts, doesn't forget betrayals. And when enough time has passed, when the message is clear, you'll be free to go. How long? As long as it takes. My daughter will be fine. Better than fine. I'll make sure she has everything she needs. Better schools, better childcare. Mrs. Chen will be paid well to care for her when you can't. Lorenzo set down the tablet. This isn't a negotiation, Miss Rodriguez. This is me explaining your new reality. You can accept it gracefully or you can fight. Either way, the outcome is the same. Maya felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. You're a monster. Yes, Lorenzo said simply. I am, but I'm a monster who keeps his word. Do what I ask, 'cause no trouble, and your daughter will never know you were anything but a good mother who worked hard to give her a better life. Refuse, and I'll make sure Emma learns exactly who her grandfather was, what blood runs in her veins, how her mother tried to run from debts that can never be escaped. She's 5 years old. Then she has time to learn. Lorenzo stood, walking to the window. I don't enjoy this, Miss Rodriguez. I don't enjoy threatening children or forcing women into compliance. But I live in a world built on reputation. If word gets out that Miguel Rodriguez's daughter walked away from his debt, every two-bit criminal from here to Miami will think they can do the same. I can't allow that. So I'm an example. You're a reminder that debts are paid, always. Lorenzo turned back to face her. Make your choice, Miss Rodriguez. The easy way or the hard way. But choose quickly. I have a business to run and you're taking up time I don't have. Maya thought about Emma, about her daughter's smile, her laugh, the way she said mommy, like it was the best word in the world. She thought about the life she'd fought to build from nothing, the years of school and work and sacrifice to become someone her daughter could be proud of. And she thought about her father, the man who'd disappeared without explanation, leaving her to clean up messes she didn't make. The easy way, she whispered. Smart. Lorenzo nodded. Marco will show you to your room. The real one, not the guest house. You'll need appropriate clothes. Someone will take you shopping this afternoon. Tomorrow night, there's a fundraiser. You'll attend with me. As what? As exactly what you are. A woman who owes me everything and understands the cost of her father's betrayal. Lorenzo sat back down, dismissing her. That will be all. Maya stood on shaking legs, walked to the door. Her hand was on the knob when Lorenzo spoke again. Miss Rodriguez? She didn't turn around. Welcome to the family. The room Marco led her to was on the 3rd floor, corner position with windows facing both the gardens and the street beyond the wall. It was twice the size of her apartment, decorated in shades of cream and gray that probably had fancy names like Morning Dove or Seafoam. The bed was enormous. The closet was empty except for hangers that looked like they cost more than her weekly grocery budget. Someone will be up with your things, Marco said. What few things you have anyway. Maya turned on him. You went to my apartment? We needed to know who you were, what you had, whether you were a threat. Marco leaned against the doorframe, studying her. You really didn't know about your father, did you? What he did? He left when I was 17. Never said why. Never came back. Maya crossed her arms. My mom died thinking he abandoned us because we weren't good enough. Maybe that was easier than the truth. What truth? That he was a thief? That he worked for people like you? Maya's voice cracked. I spent years trying to be nothing like him, working my way through nursing school, proving I could be better. And now I'm here anyway, paying for something I didn't do. Marco's expression softened slightly. Lorenzo's not as bad as he seems. He threatened my daughter. He protected her. There's a difference. Marco straightened. Look, I know this is hell for you, but you walked into the wrong house at the wrong time and gave the wrong name. What did you expect him to do? Just let you leave? Yes, Maya said. Normal people would have just let me use the phone and sent me on my way. We're not normal people. Marco pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. This is my sister, 15 years old, straight-A student, wants to be a doctor. You know where she is right now? In a safe house 3 states away because someone my father owed money to decided the best way to collect was through her. Lorenzo found out, handled it, made sure she was protected. That's what he does. He keeps the rules, debts get paid, threats get neutralized. The system works because everyone knows the consequences. I'm not a threat, Maya said quietly. I'm just tired. Then rest. The shopping trip is at 2. Try to eat something before then. You look like you're gonna fall over. He left. Maya stood in the middle of the expensive room and tried to remember how to be a person instead of collateral. Her phone was on the nightstand, fully charged. Someone had brought it from her car. She grabbed it, hands shaking, and called Mrs. Chen. Maya! The older woman's voice was warm, concerned. Are you okay? That man who called said you had a family emergency. I'm fine. How's Emma? She's perfect. We made cookies this morning. She's watching cartoons now. Mrs. Chen paused. How long will you be gone? I don't know. A few days, maybe. Maya closed her eyes. Can I talk to her? Of course. Hold on. There was rustling, then Emma's voice, bright and young and perfect, nearly broke Maya's heart. Mommy! Hey, baby, how are you? I'm good. Mrs. Chen makes the best cookies, better than yours. Emma giggled. Don't be mad. I'm not mad. Maya's throat was tight. I miss you so much. When are you coming home? Soon, I promise. Are you being good? Yes. Mrs. Chen says I'm an angel. More giggling. That's not true, right? Angels don't exist. You're my angel, Maya said. I love you, Emma. So much. Love you too, Mommy. Bye. The phone went back to Mrs. Chen. Maya could hear the TV in the background. Some cartoon about talking animals. Normal. Safe. Everything she'd worked for. She's fine, Maya, Mrs. Chen said gently. Take care of your family. We'll be here when you get back. Maya hung up and let herself cry for exactly 5 minutes. Then she washed her face, straightened her shoulders, and tried to figure out how to survive this. The shopping trip turned out to be less trip and more invasion. A woman named Sophia appeared at 2 o'clock sharp, tall, elegant, wearing clothes that whispered money instead of shouting it. She looked Maya up and down with the kind of professional assessment that made Maya feel like livestock. You're smaller than I thought, Sophia said. That's good. Easier to fit. Fit for what? For tomorrow night, the fundraiser. Sophia gestured for Maya to follow. Mr. Salvatore has a reputation to maintain. You'll need to look the part. They didn't go to a mall. Instead, a black SUV drove them to a boutique in a part of town Maya had only seen from the highway. The kind of place that didn't have price tags because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. The owner greeted Sophia by name, shot Maya a curious look, and immediately began pulling dresses from racks. She needs a full wardrobe, Sophia said. Day clothes, evening wear, shoes, accessories, understated but quality, nothing flashy. She's not arm candy, she's a statement. What kind of statement? The owner asked. That Lorenzo Salvatore takes what he's owed and keeps it. They talked about Maya like she wasn't there, discussed her coloring, her build, what styles would work with her hair. Maya stood in the middle of the boutique feeling like a doll being dressed for someone else's game. Try this. The owner handed her a dress, midnight blue, simple lines, probably cost more than her monthly rent. Maya went into the fitting room because what else could she do? The dress fit perfectly. Made her look like someone she wasn't. Someone who belonged at fundraisers with men like Lorenzo. Let me see, Sophia called. Maya stepped out. Sophia's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes shifted. That works. We'll take it. And the black one? And the emerald. She needs shoes for each. 2 hours later, Maya had more clothes than she'd owned in her entire life. Dresses, slacks, blouses, skirts, shoes that cost more than her first car, a coat that felt like wearing a cloud. all of it in garment bags being loaded into the SUV by men who appeared from nowhere. "Thank you," Maya said quietly to Sophia as they drove back. "Don't thank me. This isn't kindness." Sophia lit a cigarette, blew smoke out the cracked window. "You're a prop. Lorenzo needs you to look a certain way to make his point. That's all this is." "You work for him?" "Everyone works for him, one way or another." Sophia flicked ash out the window. "Some of us just get paid better than others." "How long have you known him?" "Long enough to know he's not someone you want to cross." Sophia glanced at her. "But he keeps his word. If he says your daughter will be safe, she will be. If he says you'll be treated well, you will be. Just don't mistake that for caring. Lorenzo Salvatore doesn't care about people. He cares about order." Back at the house, Maya hung the new clothes in the empty closet and felt like she was preparing for a funeral. Her funeral, maybe. The death of the person she'd been trying to be. Dinner was brought to her room on a tray. She ate alone, watching the sun set over the gardens, wondering how her life had become this. Night came. The house got quiet. Maya lay in the expensive bed and stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep despite exhaustion that lived in her bones. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lorenzo's empty expression when he threatened Emma, heard his voice explaining how she was nothing but a message. Somewhere around midnight, she gave up on sleep and went exploring. The house was dark except for security lights along the hallways. Maya moved quietly, not sure what she was looking for. Maybe just proof that this was real, that she wasn't dreaming. She found the library on the second floor, floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books that looked like they'd never been read. A desk by the window. Chairs arranged around a fireplace that probably worked at the touch of a button. "Can't sleep?" Maya spun around. Lorenzo stood in the doorway, wearing different clothes than earlier. Dark pants, a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He looked tired. More human, somehow. "I didn't mean to intrude," Maya said. "It's your house now. For a while, anyway." Lorenzo walked to the bar in the corner, poured 2 glasses of something amber. He held one out to her. "Drink?" "I don't drink." "Tonight you do." He set the glass on the table beside her. "You look like you need it." Maya stared at the glass. "Is this the part where you poison me? If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead." Lorenzo sat in one of the chairs, sipped his own drink. "This is the part where I explain the rules so tomorrow doesn't become a disaster." "I thought you already explained them. I'm collateral. A message. Property." "Your insurance," Lorenzo corrected. "There's a difference. Tomorrow night people will see you with me. They'll know who you are, whose daughter you are. They'll understand that I don't forgive debts, but they'll also see how I treat you. With respect, care even. That sends a different message." "What message?" "That I'm civilized. That I follow the old rules, not the new ones." Lorenzo swirled his drink. "My father would have killed you, cut off your fingers and mailed them to addresses where your father might see. Made an example that ended in blood. I don't work that way." "How generous," Maya said bitterly. "It is, actually, in this world." Lorenzo looked at her over the rim of his glass. "You think I'm a monster. You're right. But I'm a monster with rules. I don't hurt children. I don't rape. I don't kill unless there's no other option. That might not sound like much to you, but in my world it's everything." Maya picked up the glass, took a small sip. The liquor burned going down, but warmed her chest. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because tomorrow you'll meet people who aren't like me. People who'd see you as an opportunity. Fresh meat. Someone they could use against me." Lorenzo's eyes were hard. "You need to understand what you're walking into. These aren't charity galas with nice people writing checks. These are wolves pretending to be civilized for a few hours. And you'll be standing next to me, representing something they all understand." "Debt," Maya whispered. "Consequence." Lorenzo finished his drink, set down the glass. "Your father didn't just steal money, Miss Rodriguez. He stole trust, reputation. He made my father look weak. Do you know what happens to weak men in my world?" Maya shook her head. "They die, usually badly." Lorenzo stood, walked to the window. "My father died 6 months after your father disappeared. Heart attack, officially. But the stress of looking weak, of having people question whether he could control his own organization, that killed him as surely as a bullet. I inherited an empire that was fracturing. Took me 5 years to rebuild it. 5 years of proving I was stronger than he was, more ruthless, more reliable. I'm sorry for your loss, Maya said, though she wasn't sure she meant it. Don't be. He was a bastard. Lorenzo turned back to face her. But he was my bastard. And your father helped kill him, so yes, you're collateral. Yes, you're a message. But you're also the only reason I'm not doing to you what my father would have done. Consider that a gift. Some gift. It's the only one you're going to get. Lorenzo moved toward the door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be difficult. Try not to embarrass me. Wait, Maya stood. Can I see Emma? Before the fundraiser? No. Please. Just for an hour. I need to know she's really okay. Lorenzo paused in the doorway, his back to her. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then, you see her. You'll want to run. Take her and disappear. I can't allow that. I won't run, Maya said. I promise. Your promises mean nothing to me. Lorenzo looked back at her. But I'll make you a deal. Tomorrow night, you do exactly what I say. You smile when you're supposed to smile. You stay by my side. You don't cause problems. Do that, and Sunday you can see Emma. 1 hour, supervised. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Deal, Maya said. Lorenzo nodded once and left. Maya stood in the library until she heard his footsteps fade, then drank the rest of the liquor in one burning gulp. Morning came too fast. Sophia appeared at 8 with breakfast and instructions. Hair and makeup at 4, dress at 6, car leaves at 7. She set the tray down, handed Maya a small box. Wear these tonight. Inside were earrings, diamonds, real ones, worth more than Maya made in 6 months. She stared at them like they might bite. I can't wear these. You can and you will. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed. Listen to me. Tonight's going to be hell. Rich people pretending to care about whatever cause Lorenzo's supporting this month. Everyone will be watching you, judging, trying to figure out who you are and what you mean. Your job is to be invisible, except when you're not. That makes no sense. It means you stand next to Lorenzo, you look beautiful, you don't speak unless spoken to, and when you do speak, you're polite and forgettable. You're decoration with a purpose, a reminder, nothing more. I'm a person, Maya said quietly. Not tonight, you're not. Tonight, you're whatever Lorenzo needs you to be. Sophia stood. I know that's hard to hear, but it's the truth. Accept it now or spend the night miserable. Your choice. She left. Maya ate breakfast without tasting it, showered in the marble bathroom, and tried to remember who she'd been 3 days ago. A nurse, a mother, someone who saved lives and came home tired but satisfied. That person felt like a stranger now. The afternoon crawled by. At 4, a team appeared. Makeup artist, hairstylist. Someone whose entire job seemed to be making sure Maya's nails looked perfect. They worked on her like she was a canvas, transforming her into someone else, someone glossy and polished and expensive looking. At 6, Sophia helped her into the midnight blue dress. It fit like it had been made for her, probably had been, based on how quickly the boutique had done alterations. The shoes were torture devices disguised as fashion. The earrings caught the light every time she moved. You look perfect, Sophia said, circling her. Exactly right. Not too flashy, not too plain. You look like you belong. Maya stared at her reflection and saw a stranger. At 7, Marco knocked on the door. Car's ready. The SUV was waiting in the circular driveway. Lorenzo stood beside it, wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than her nursing degree. He looked at Maya for a long moment, expression unreadable. You clean up well, he said finally. Thanks. I think. He opened the door for her. Maya climbed in, the dress rustling around her legs. Lorenzo slid in beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. The driver pulled away from the house, heading toward downtown. Remember what I said, Lorenzo told her. Stay close. Don't wander. If someone asks about your father, you don't know anything. You're just someone I'm seeing. Nothing serious. Understand? I understand that I'm a prop. You're a statement. Lorenzo adjusted his cufflinks. There's a difference. The fundraiser was at the city's most expensive hotel, in a ballroom that looked like something from a movie. Chandeliers dripped crystal. The floors were marble. Everything gleamed. People in tuxedos and gowns clustered in groups, holding champagne flutes, laughing at jokes that probably weren't funny. Lorenzo's hand settled on Maya's lower back as they entered, possessive, claiming. She fought the urge to pull away. "Smile," he murmured. "You're supposed to be enjoying yourself." Maya smiled. It felt like her face might crack. They moved through the crowd slowly. People approached Lorenzo with the kind of deference that made Maya's skin crawl. Business associates, politicians, people who looked respectable but had the same cold eyes as Lorenzo. Each one looked at Maya with curiosity, assessment, calculation. Lorenzo. A man appeared in front of them, older, silver-haired, wearing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Good to see you. And who's this lovely creature?" "Maya Rodriguez," Lorenzo said casually. "Maya, this is Senator Whitmore." The senator's expression flickered, just for a second, but Maya saw it. Recognition, surprise, something darker. "Rodriguez," the senator repeated. "Any relation to Miguel Rodriguez?" "My father," Maya said, keeping her voice steady. "Interesting." The senator's smile widened. "Very interesting. I didn't realize he had family still in the area." "He didn't," Lorenzo said smoothly. "Maya and I reconnected recently. Small world." The lie was so smooth, so casual, that Maya almost believed it herself. The senator nodded, looked between them, and something passed across his face that made Maya's stomach turn. "Of course. Well, enjoy the evening." He moved away, already pulling out his phone. "That was a mistake," Maya whispered. "He knows." "He's supposed to know." Lorenzo guided her toward the bar. "By tomorrow morning, everyone will know. That's the point." They got drinks. Champagne for Maya, scotch for Lorenzo. She held the glass like a shield, sipping slowly, trying to look like she belonged. People kept approaching. Each conversation was a variation of the same theme. Polite greetings, subtle questions, eyes that saw too much. Halfway through the night, Maya excused herself to find the bathroom. Lorenzo tensed. "I'll be right back," she promised. "Marco will go with you." "I don't need an escort to pee." "Yes, you do." Lorenzo nodded to Marco, who appeared from somewhere in the crowd. "Stay with her." The bathroom was on the second floor, marble and mirrors and luxury soaps. Maya locked herself in a stall and tried to breathe. Her feet hurt. Her face hurt from smiling. Everything hurt. When she came out, a woman was washing her hands at the sink, older, maybe 50, wearing emeralds that probably cost more than Maya's life. She looked at Maya in the mirror, smiled. "You must be her," the woman said. "Miguel's daughter." Maya's blood went cold. "I don't—" It's all over the room. Lorenzo Salvatore showing up with Miguel Rodriguez's daughter on his arm, making a statement. The woman dried her hands, turned to face Maya directly. "Do you know what your father did?" "I know he stole money." "He did more than that, honey. He stole evidence. Files that could have brought down half the families in this city. Then he disappeared, left everyone wondering what he'd done with it, whether he'd made copies, whether someday it would all come out." The woman stepped closer. "People have been looking for those files for 15 years, looking for your father. And now here you are." "I don't have any files," Maya said. "I don't know anything." "Maybe. Maybe not." The woman smiled. "But Lorenzo's smart. He knows that even if you don't have the files, your existence is valuable. A reminder that debts don't disappear, that consequences are real." She headed for the door, paused. "Be careful, honey. You're playing a game you don't understand with people who've been playing it their whole lives." She left. Maya stood in the bathroom, shaking, until Marco knocked on the door. "You okay in there?" "Fine," Maya called. "Just a minute." She splashed cold water on her face, fixed her makeup, and tried to remember how to pretend everything was fine. The rest of the night blurred together, more conversations, more eyes watching her, a dinner she couldn't taste, Lorenzo's hand on her back, her elbow, claiming her in ways that made her feel like property. Finally, mercifully, it ended. They said their goodbyes, walked to the car, drove home in silence. Maya's feet were bleeding from the shoes, her face felt stiff from smiling. She was so tired she could barely think. "You did well," Lorenzo said as they pulled up to the house. "I survived. That's not the same thing." In my world, it is. He got out, came around to open her door. Sunday. 1 hour with Emma. You earned it. Maya climbed out, every muscle aching. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The hard part's just beginning. He walked her to the door, disappeared into his office. Maya climbed the stairs to her room, stripped off the dress, threw the torture device shoes across the room. She stood in the shower until the hot water ran cold, trying to wash off the feeling of being displayed like merchandise. When she finally crawled into bed, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your father died protecting those files. Don't let his sacrifice be for nothing. Maya stared at the message until her eyes blurred. Then she deleted it, turned off her phone, and tried to sleep. But sleep wouldn't come, because now she knew. This wasn't just about her father's debt. It was about something bigger, something that had gotten him killed and might kill her too if she wasn't careful. And somewhere in this house, Lorenzo Salvatore knew exactly what that was. Sunday morning arrived with rain hammering against the windows and Maya's heart hammering against her ribs. Today she'd see Emma. 1 hour. Supervised. It wasn't enough, but it was everything. She dressed carefully in jeans and a sweater from her new wardrobe, braided her hair the way Emma liked it, tried to look like a mother instead of whatever she'd become. When she came downstairs, Lorenzo was waiting in the foyer wearing casual clothes that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Ready? He asked. You're coming? I'm always coming. That's what supervised means. Lorenzo opened the door. Marco's driving. We'll pick up Emma from Mrs. Chen's, take her to the park, 1 hour, then back. The drive to her apartment felt surreal. Maya watched familiar streets pass by the window, places she'd lived her whole life, now seen from inside a luxury SUV with armed guards and a crime boss sitting beside her. When they pulled up outside the Riverside complex, she felt like she was visiting her own past. Mrs. Chen answered the door with Emma bouncing beside her, already wearing her coat. Mommy! Emma launched herself at Maya, who caught her and held on too tight, breathing in the smell of strawberry shampoo and childhood. Hey, baby, I missed you so much. I missed you more. Emma pulled back, grinning. Then she saw Lorenzo standing behind Maya. Her smile faltered. Who's that? This is Mr. Salvatore, Maya said carefully. He's a friend. He's going to come to the park with us. Why? Because I asked him to. Maya set Emma down, took her hand. Is that okay? Emma studied Lorenzo with the brutal honesty of 5-year-olds. You're really tall. You're really observant, Lorenzo said. Something in his voice was different, softer. What's observant mean? It means you notice things. Oh. Emma seemed satisfied with this. Can we go now? I want to swing. The park was mostly empty because of the rain, just a few dedicated parents with kids who didn't care about getting wet. Marco stayed by the car, watching. Lorenzo followed Maya and Emma to the playground, keeping his distance, but always present. Emma ran straight for the swings. Maya pushed her, listening to her daughter's laughter, trying to memorize every second. This was real. This was what mattered. Everything else was just noise. Higher, Mommy, higher! Maya pushed harder. Emma squealed with delight, her feet reaching for the gray sky. She looks like you, Lorenzo said quietly. He'd moved closer, standing just outside the swing's arc. She looks like herself, Maya said. Stubborn like you too, I bet. Watch it. But there was no heat in Maya's voice. She was too focused on Emma, on making this hour count. After the swings came the slide, then the monkey bars where Emma hung upside down and made Maya's heart stop. Lorenzo stayed back, watching with an expression Maya couldn't read. Not quite soft, but not cold either. Something in between. Mr. Salvatore? Emma called from the top of the climbing structure. Can you catch me? Emma, no, Maya started, but Lorenzo was already moving, positioning himself below. Jump! Emma jumped without hesitation, the way kids do when they haven't learned fear yet. Lorenzo caught her easily, set her down gently. Emma grinned up at him. You're strong. You're brave, Lorenzo said. Maybe too brave. Mommy says being brave is good. Your mommy's right. Lorenzo glanced at Maya. About a lot of things. The hour passed too fast. Emma showed Lorenzo how to pump on the swings, explained the complex rules of the imaginary game she was playing, asked questions about everything. Why was his car so big? Did he have kids? Did he like ice cream? Lorenzo answered each question with more patience than Maya expected, his responses careful but not condescending. When Marco tapped his watch, signaling time was up, Maya's chest went tight. "We have to go, baby," she said. "Already?" Emma's face fell. "But we just got here." "I know, but I'll see you again soon, I promise." "When?" Maya looked at Lorenzo. He nodded once. "Next weekend," Maya said. "Same time, okay?" "Okay." Emma hugged her tight. "I love you, Mommy." "I love you too, so much." Maya held on until Emma squirmed free, running back to climb one more thing before they left. Lorenzo moved closer, his voice low. "She's a good kid." "She's everything," Maya said. "I know." Something crossed his face. "That's why this works. You understand what's at stake." The drive back to Mrs. Chen's was quiet. Emma chattered about the park, about the cookies she and Mrs. Chen had made, about a cartoon she'd watched. Normal kid stuff that felt like a gift. When they arrived, Emma hugged Maya one more time. "Bye, Mommy. Bye, Mr. Salvatore." "Bye, Emma," Lorenzo said. Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway, took Emma's hand. She looked at Maya with concern that made Maya want to cry. "You okay, honey?" Mrs. Chen asked quietly. "I'm fine, just busy with family stuff." "You look tired." "I am tired, but it's okay." Maya forced a smile. "Thank you for watching her." "Any time, you know that." The drive back to Lorenzo's house was silent. Maya stared out the window, trying not to think about how Emma had looked so happy, so normal, while Maya's life was anything but. "You're quiet," Lorenzo said. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing, just observing." He paused. "She really doesn't know, does she, about any of this?" "No, and she never will if I can help it." "Good." Lorenzo looked out his own window. Kids should get to be kids for as long as possible. There was something in his voice that made Maya look at him. "You sound like you're speaking from experience." "I am." Lorenzo's jaw tightened. "I was 8 when my father explained what he did for a living. 9 when I saw my first consequence. By 12, I understood that our family existed because other people were afraid of us. There's no going back from that knowledge. No unlearning what fear looks like on someone's face when they realize who you are." "Is that why you do this?" Maya asked. "Keep the family business going because you can't unlearn it?" "I do it because it's what I know. What I'm good at." Lorenzo's expression was hard again. "And because someone has to maintain order. Without rules, without consequences, everything falls apart. You saw that last night. All those people at the fundraiser playing nice, following protocol. You think they do that because they want to? They do it because they know what happens if they don't." "Fear," Maya said. "Respect," Lorenzo corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there?" He didn't answer. When they got back to the house, Lorenzo disappeared into his office, and Maya retreated to her room, emotionally exhausted from an hour that should have been simple but felt like walking a tightrope. Monday brought a new routine. Maya woke early, had breakfast brought to her room, spent the morning trying to figure out what she was supposed to do with herself. She couldn't work, couldn't go home, couldn't live her actual life. She was stuck in luxury that felt like a cage. Around noon, Sophia appeared. "Lorenzo wants you to learn," she said without preamble. "Learn what?" "How to survive in this world. How to read people. How to protect yourself." Sophia gestured for Maya to follow. "Come on. First lesson starts now." They went to a different part of the house, a room Maya hadn't seen before. It looked like an office mixed with a classroom, computers, screens, showing security feeds, files stacked on tables. "This is where we plan," Sophia said. "Where we track threats, monitor associates, gather intelligence. Lorenzo runs an empire. That takes information." "Why are you showing me this?" "Because he asked me to." Sophia pulled out a chair. "Sit. We're going to talk about the people you met Friday night, what they want, who's dangerous, who's an ally." For the next 3 hours, Sophia walked Maya through a crash course in understanding Lorenzo's world. The senator they'd met was on 3 different payrolls. The woman in the bathroom worked for a rival family. The man who'd complimented Maya's dress was an FBI agent trying to infiltrate Lorenzo's organization. Everyone wants something, Sophia explained. Your job is to figure out what before they figure out how to use you to get it. I thought my job was to be decoration. That was Friday. Today's different. Sophia lit a cigarette, blew smoke toward the ceiling. You're not going away anytime soon. Lorenzo's made that clear. So either you learn to navigate this world or you drown in it. Your choice. Maya chose to learn. What else could she do? The lessons continued daily. Sophia taught her how to read body language, spot lies, identify threats. Marco taught her the security protocols, showed her where the cameras were, explained the guard rotations. Even Lorenzo got involved, spending evenings going over the organizational structure, explaining alliances and rivalries that went back generations. The Castellanos hate us because my grandfather killed theirs in a territory dispute, Lorenzo said one night over dinner. They'd started eating together, though Maya wasn't sure when that had become normal. The Russos respect us because we helped them avoid a war with the Irish 10 years ago. The blacks are neutral, but watching. Everyone's always watching. It sounds exhausting, Maya said. It is, but it's also survival. Lorenzo poured wine into her glass despite her protests. Drink. It helps. I'm not much of a drinker. You're learning to be a lot of things you weren't before. He wasn't wrong. Maya was learning to read rooms, to watch for threats, to understand the careful dance of power and violence that kept Lorenzo's world functioning. She was learning that everyone here had a role, a purpose, a reason for existing within the structure. And she was learning that Lorenzo was more than just a crime boss with empty eyes. Late one night, unable to sleep, Maya found him in the library again. He was reading actual books this time, not just files and reports. He looked up when she entered but didn't tell her to leave. What are you reading? She asked. History, specifically the fall of the Roman Empire. Lorenzo showed her the cover, trying to avoid repeating their mistakes. By running a criminal organization? By understanding that empires fall when they lose discipline. When people start thinking rules don't apply to them. He set down the book. What are you doing up? Couldn't sleep. Keep thinking about Emma. She's fine. Marco checks on her every night. Mrs. Chen doesn't know, but we have someone watching the building. Maya should have been angry about the invasion of privacy. Instead, she felt relief. Thank you. Don't thank me. It's insurance. If something happens to Emma, you become unpredictable. Can't have that. But his voice lacked conviction. You're not as cold as you pretend to be, Maya said. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Maya sat in the chair across from him. You caught Emma when she jumped. You didn't have to do that. She could have gotten hurt. Exactly. You cared about that. About her. Lorenzo's expression hardened. Don't mistake pragmatism for sentiment. Emma is leverage, that's all. That's all she was. You wouldn't check on her every night. I check on all my assets. She's 5 years old, not an asset. Well, in my world, everything's an asset. Lorenzo stood, walked to the window. You should sleep. Tomorrow we're going to another event, smaller, more dangerous. More dangerous than a room full of wolves? These wolves don't bother pretending to be civilized. Lorenzo looked back at her. Get some rest, Maya. You'll need it. The event turned out to be a private poker game in a warehouse that had been converted into something between a casino and a threat. Dim lighting, expensive furniture, armed guards at every entrance. The players were men Maya recognized from Sophia's lessons. High-level criminals pretending to be businessmen, or maybe businessmen pretending to be legitimate. The line was too blurred to tell. Lorenzo's hand stayed on Maya's back as they entered, claiming her, protecting her, both. Salvatore, one of the men called. Glad you could make it, and you brought entertainment. I brought my guest, Lorenzo said smoothly. Maya, this is Victor Castellano. The name hit Maya like ice water. Castellano. The family that hated the Salvatores. She kept her expression neutral, smiled politely. Charmed, Victor said, looking her over like merchandise. Miguel's daughter, right? Must be strange being here with the man who probably had your father killed. The room went silent. Maya felt Lorenzo tense beside her. My father left when I was 17, Maya said carefully. What happened to him after that isn't something I have information about. Diplomatic. Victor laughed. I like her, Lorenzo. She's smarter than she looks. She's exactly as smart as she looks, Lorenzo said. His voice was ice. Are we playing cards or making small talk? They played cards. Maya sat slightly behind Lorenzo, watching, learning. The game wasn't really about poker. It was about power, about testing boundaries, about seeing who would blink first. Money changed hands, but that wasn't the point. Information was the point. Leverage. Understanding who was weak and who was strong. Halfway through the night, Maya excused herself to find the bathroom. One of the guards directed her down a hallway. She was washing her hands when the door opened and a man walked in. Not Victor, but someone else from the game. Younger, dangerous looking. Wrong bathroom, Maya said. No, it's not. He locked the door behind him. We need to talk. Maya's heart rate spiked. About what? About your father. About the files. The man pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. It was her father, younger than she remembered, standing next to someone she didn't recognize. Miguel didn't just steal money. He stole insurance. Evidence that could bring down everyone in that room out there. I don't know anything about that. Maybe. But you could find out. The man stepped closer. Lorenzo's keeping you close. You have access. You could look for those files, find them, give them to the right people. And who are the right people? People who'd pay you enough to disappear. You and your daughter. New identities, new lives, freedom. The man's eyes were intense. Think about it. You don't owe Lorenzo anything. You don't owe any of them anything. Your father died protecting those files from people like Salvatore. Don't let that be for nothing. Someone knocked on the door. Hard. Maya, Lorenzo's voice. You okay in there? The man swore, unlocked the door, pushed past Lorenzo without a word. Lorenzo watched him go, then looked at Maya with eyes that saw everything. What did he say to you? Nothing. Just talked about my father. Maya. Lorenzo stepped inside, closed the door. What did he say? She could lie, should lie, but something in Lorenzo's expression made her tell the truth. He said my father stole files, evidence, that I could find them and sell them for enough money to disappear. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. And what did you say? Nothing. You knocked before I could respond. Would you have said yes? Maya met his eyes. I don't know. For a long moment, Lorenzo just looked at her. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call. Marco, find out who sent Dimitri to talk to Maya. I want names by morning. He hung up. We're leaving. The game is over. For us, anyway. Lorenzo's hand found her back again, but this time it felt more protective than possessive. Stay close to me. Don't talk to anyone. We're walking out of here like nothing happened. They did. Maya kept her head up, her expression calm, while her heart raced. In the car, Lorenzo was silent until they were blocks away. They're going to come after you now, he said finally. Word will spread that you might know something about those files. Every family that has reason to fear what Miguel stole will want to get to you first. I don't know anything, Maya said. Doesn't matter. They think you might. That's enough. Lorenzo looked at her. I'm going to increase security. No more outings without full detail. No contact with anyone I haven't vetted. What about Emma? She's already protected, but I'll add more guards. Lorenzo ran a hand through his hair. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You're not just collateral anymore. You're a target. Because of my father. Because of what your father knew. Lorenzo's expression was grim. Those files he stole? They weren't just evidence of crimes. They were insurance policies. Proof that could destroy families, end empires, put half the people in that warehouse in prison for life. Miguel disappeared with them 15 years ago. Everyone assumed he was dead, the files destroyed, but if they still exist, everyone wants them, Maya finished. Everyone needs to make sure they never surface. Lorenzo looked out the window. Including me. The words hung between them. Maya understood what he wasn't saying. If those files existed, if she knew where they were, she was valuable, but also expendable. The moment she gave up that information, she had no more leverage. I really don't know where they are, she said quietly. I believe you, but I might be the only one who does. Back at the house, Lorenzo's phone started ringing. He answered, listened, his expression growing darker. When? Pause. How many? Longer pause. Get everyone to safe positions. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up, looked at Maya. Stay inside. Don't leave the house for any reason. What happened? The Russos just hit one of our warehouses. 3 men dead. Lorenzo was already moving toward the door. This is retaliation for something or a test, or both. Either way, I need to handle it. Be careful, Maya said, and meant it. Lorenzo paused, looked back at her with an expression she couldn't read. Lock your door. Marco's staying here with you. He left. Maya stood in the foyer listening to cars start, engines rev, the sound of armed men mobilizing for war. This was Lorenzo's real world. Not fundraisers and poker games, but violence and death and consequences measured in blood. She went upstairs, locked her door like Lorenzo had said, and tried not to think about what he was doing, where he was, whether he'd come back. Hours passed. Maya couldn't sleep. She paced the room, checked her phone obsessively, even though there was no one to call. Around 3 a.m, she heard cars returning, voices, movement below. She went to the window, saw Lorenzo getting out of an SUV. Even from a distance, she could see blood on his shirt. He was moving stiffly, like something hurt. Marco appeared beside him, supporting his weight. Maya didn't think. She ran. Down the stairs, through the hallways, out the side door into the courtyard where they were standing. Lorenzo looked up when he saw her, surprise crossing his face. I told you to stay inside, he said. You're bleeding. It's not mine. Mostly. Lorenzo winced as Marco helped him toward the house. It's fine. Just need to clean up. You need a hospital. Can't go to a hospital. They ask questions. Lorenzo made it to the door, stopped, looked at her. Why do you care? Maya didn't have a good answer. 2 weeks ago, she'd thought he was a monster. Now she'd run down here because the thought of him being hurt made her chest tight. I don't know, she said honestly. Something shifted in Lorenzo's expression. Come on, you're a nurse. Maybe you can make sure I don't bleed out. In his private bathroom, Maya cleaned the wound on his side. A graze from a bullet, not deep, but painful. Lorenzo sat on the counter, shirtless, watching her work with an intensity that made her hands shake. You're good at this, he said. It's my job, was my job. Maya applied antiseptic. He hissed, but didn't pull away. What happened tonight? War. Small scale, but war nonetheless. Lorenzo's voice was tired. The Russos thought they could take advantage of perceived weakness. I corrected that assumption. By killing people. By defending what's mine. There's a difference. Maya finished bandaging the wound, stepped back. Lorenzo was still watching her with those eyes that saw too much. Thank you, he said quietly. You're welcome. Neither of them moved. The air between them felt charged, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with bullets or blood. Maya should leave, should go back to her room, should remember that this man had threatened her daughter, trapped her, made her life into a cage. But he'd also protected Emma, taught Maya how to survive, caught her daughter when she jumped, been honest when lies would have been easier. Maya, Lorenzo said. His voice was different, raw. Don't, she whispered. Don't what? Don't make this complicated. It's already complicated. Lorenzo slid off the counter, moved closer. It's been complicated since you knocked on my door. You threatened my daughter. I protected her. I'm still protecting her. He was close enough now that Maya could feel the heat coming off him. I'm protecting you too, whether you want to admit it or not. By making me collateral? By keeping you alive in a world that wants to use you and discard you. Lorenzo's hand came up, almost touching her face, but not quite. I told myself this was just business, just debt and consequences. But you're making that hard to believe. Maya's heart was racing. This is a bad idea. Probably the worst I've had in years. Lorenzo's thumb brushed her cheek. Tell me to stop. She should. She absolutely should. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, she leaned into his touch, feeling something shift between them, something that had been building since that first night, growing through dinners and lessons and moments where he was more human than monster. The kiss started soft, questioning, giving her room to pull away. Maya didn't pull away. She kissed him back, tasting copper, an expensive scotch, and something darker. His hands found her waist, pulling her closer. She felt the bandage under her palm, remembered that he'd been shot tonight, that his world was violence and death. But right now, in this moment, he was just a man who kissed like he fought, intense, focused, all-consuming. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lorenzo rested his forehead against hers. "This changes things," he said. "I know. Are you okay with that?" Maya thought about Emma, about her life before, about everything she'd lost and everything she might be gaining. "I don't know. Ask me tomorrow." Lorenzo smiled, actually smiled. It transformed his face. "Tomorrow, then." He kissed her again, softer this time, then stepped back before things could go further. "Get some sleep, Maya. Real sleep, in your own bed." "What about you?" "I have calls to make. People to threaten. The usual." But his voice was lighter than she'd ever heard it. "Go." Maya went, climbed the stairs to her room, closed the door, leaned against it trying to process what had just happened. She'd kissed Lorenzo Salvatore, the man holding her prisoner, the man protecting her daughter, the monster who caught children when they jumped and read history books to avoid repeating mistakes. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your father's files are in a safety deposit box at First National Bank. Box 447. Key is where he always kept important things. Find it before someone else does." Maya stared at the message until her eyes burned. Then she deleted it, turned off her phone, and tried to sleep. But sleep wouldn't come, because now she knew where the files were, and everyone else would be looking too. Morning came with Maya staring at her phone. The deleted message burned into her memory. Box 447. First National Bank. Key is where he always kept important things. The problem was, Maya had no idea where her father kept anything important. He'd disappeared when she was 17, left behind nothing but questions and an empty closet. She got dressed, went downstairs, found Lorenzo already in his office, despite the fact that he'd been shot 12 hours ago. He looked up when she entered, and something passed between them. Acknowledgement of last night, of the kiss, of everything that had shifted. "How's the wound?" Maya asked. "Hurts like hell. I'll live." Lorenzo gestured to the chair across from him. "We need to talk about what happened at the warehouse." "I thought we needed to talk about what happened in your bathroom." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "That too, but business first." He pulled up something on his tablet, showed her photos that made her stomach turn. Bodies, blood, the aftermath of the violence he'd dealt with while she'd been safe in this house. "3 of the Russo soldiers are dead," Lorenzo said flatly. "2 of mine are in the hospital. This was a message. They're testing me, seeing if I'm distracted. Because of me. Because of the situation you represent. Word's spreading fast about those files. Everyone who has reason to fear what Miguel stole is making moves." Lorenzo set down the tablet. "I need to know if you know anything at all about where your father might have hidden them." Maya's throat went dry. She could tell him about the text, should tell him, but something held her back, the memory of her father's face, the way he used to ruffle her hair and call her his smart girl. If he'd died protecting those files, there had to be a reason. "I don't know anything," she said. Lorenzo studied her for a long moment. "You're a terrible liar." "I'm not lying. You're doing something. I can see it in your eyes." He leaned forward. "Maya, if you know something, you need to tell me. Not because I'm holding you here, but because whatever you're thinking about doing is going to get you killed." "I don't know where the files are," Maya said. It wasn't technically a lie. She knew where they might be, but not for certain. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. "Fine, keep your secrets, but don't leave this house without telling me first. The Russos aren't the only ones looking for leverage." He went back to his work, dismissing her. Maya left feeling like she'd just made a choice she couldn't take back. The day dragged. Maya tried to focus on the lessons Sophia brought, the security briefings Marco provided, but her mind kept going back to that text. First National Bank. Her father had banked there when she was young. She remembered going with him sometimes, sitting in the lobby while he conducted business. But a safety deposit box? She'd never known about that. By evening, she'd made a decision. Terrible, Dangerous, probably stupid, but a decision nonetheless. She waited until Lorenzo was in a meeting with his advisors, until Marco was occupied with the guards, until the house had that particular quiet that meant everyone was busy. Then she slipped out through the kitchen entrance, past the gardens, to the section of wall she'd noticed had a blind spot between cameras. Climbing the wall in expensive jeans and designer sneakers was harder than it looked in movies. Maya scraped her hands, bruised her knees, nearly fell twice. But she made it over, dropped into the alley beyond, and started walking. She'd made it 3 blocks when a car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down and Victor Castellano smiled at her from the driver's seat. "Need a ride, Miss Rodriguez?" Maya's blood went cold. "No thanks. I'm fine." "You're really not. You're 3 miles from the nearest bus stop, in a neighborhood where people notice strangers about to be picked up by Lorenzo's men who are definitely tracking you right now." Victor reached over, opened the passenger door. "Get in. We'll talk. Then I'll take you wherever you're going." Maya looked behind her, saw an SUV turning onto the street 2 blocks back. Lorenzo's men. She got in the car. Victor drove smoothly, casually, like they were friends out for a drive. "So, running away already? That was fast?" "I'm not running away." "No? Then what are you doing?" Maya didn't answer. Victor laughed. "Let me guess. Someone told you about the files, about where they might be, and you're going to retrieve them like a good little girl, give them to Lorenzo, prove you're useful." Victor turned down a side street. "Am I close?" "Why do you care?" "Because those files are valuable. To everyone. Including me." Victor's smile faded. "Your father was smart. He knew that evidence could protect him or destroy him depending on who had it. So he made copies, gave different pieces to different people. Insurance policies all around." "I don't believe you." "Don't have to. But ask yourself this, if Lorenzo gets those files, what happens to you? You stop being useful. You become a liability. Someone who knows too much." Victor pulled over, turned to face her. "I can offer you something better. Protection. Money. A way out for you and Emma that doesn't involve being Lorenzo Salvatore's pet." "He's not—" Maya stopped. "It's not like that, isn't it? You're sleeping under his roof, wearing clothes he bought, kissing him in bathrooms after he comes home covered in blood." Victor's eyes were knowing. "Oh yes, I know about that. I have people inside his organization. They tell me things." Maya's hands were shaking. "What do you want?" "I want you to think about your options. Really think." Victor handed her a card. "That's my number. When you're ready to make a deal, and you will be eventually, call me. I'll make sure you and Emma disappear so completely that Lorenzo Salvatore will never find you. And in exchange, you tell me everything you find, everything your father left behind." Victor started the car again. "Now, where were you really going?" "Nowhere. Take me back." "To Lorenzo's house? So he can lock you in a room and make sure you never leave again?" Victor shook his head. "I don't think so. I'm taking you to the bank. First National, right? Box 447? Maya's heart stopped. "How did you—" "Same way you did. Someone sent you a text. Someone sent me one too." Victor's smile was sharp. "We're all playing the same game, Maya. Question is, who do you trust to win?" The bank was closed by the time they arrived. Victor drove past it slowly, pointed out the security cameras, the guards, the systems in place. "You'll need a key," he said, "and ID proving you're authorized. Think you can get those?" "I don't even know if the box exists." "It exists. Your father was paranoid but organized. If someone says the files are there, they're there." Victor pulled over a block away. "I'm going to give you a choice, Maya. You can get out now, try to make it back to Lorenzo's house, deal with whatever punishment he has planned, or you can work with me. We get the files together, split them, use them for mutual protection." "Why would I trust you?" "Because I'm being honest about what I want. Lorenzo's telling you he's protecting you, but he's really protecting himself, his empire, his reputation." Victor's expression was serious now, not mocking. "I'm not going to pretend I'm a good guy. I'm not, but I'm not holding your daughter over your head either." A car pulled up behind them. Lorenzo's SUV, Marco, got out, walked to Victor's window. She's coming with me, Marco said. Is she? Victor looked at Maya. Your choice, sweetheart. Maya looked between them. Victor offering freedom that smelled like a different kind of trap. Marco representing Lorenzo, and everything complicated that had become. She thought about Emma, about the kiss in the bathroom, about her father dying to protect something she still didn't understand. I'm going with Marco, she said quietly. Victor shrugged. Figured you would. But keep my card. You'll need it. Maya got out. Marco opened the SUV door, his expression unreadable. Neither of them spoke during the drive back. When they pulled up to the house, Lorenzo was waiting in the courtyard, and he looked furious. Inside, he said. Now. Maya followed him to his office. He slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. What the hell were you thinking? Lorenzo's voice was ice. Climbing the wall? Walking through the city alone? Getting in a car with Victor fucking Castellano? I needed air. You needed air. Lorenzo laughed, but there was no humor in it. You almost got yourself killed for air. I can take care of myself. No, you can't. Not in this world. Not against people like Victor. Lorenzo moved closer, and Maya could see the fear under his anger. He would have used you, traded you, sold information about your location to the highest bidder. Do you understand that? He offered to help me. He offered to use you differently than I am. That's not the same thing as help. Lorenzo ran both hands through his hair. Tell me the truth. Where were you going? Maya met his eyes. The bank. First National. Someone texted me that my father's files are in a safety deposit box there. Lorenzo's expression shifted from angry to something worse. Show me the text. I deleted it. Of course you did. Lorenzo pulled out his phone, made a call. Marco, I need you to pull phone records for Maya's number. Last 48 hours. Check for any unknown contacts. He hung up. Anything else you want to tell me? Why didn't you tell me you killed my father? The question hung in the air like smoke. Lorenzo went very still. What? Victor said you probably killed him. The woman at the fundraiser implied it. Everyone seems to think you know what happened to Miguel Rodriguez. Maya's voice shook. Did you kill my father? Lorenzo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. I was 19 when your father disappeared. Still in college. Not yet part of the family business in any meaningful way. That's not an answer. My father ordered your father killed. Yes. Lorenzo's eyes were hard. Miguel stole $3 million in evidence that could have destroyed us. My father sent men to find him. They found him in a motel in Nevada. There was a confrontation. Your father was shot. Maya felt the room tilt. You're sure he's dead? The men who killed him are dead too. Car accident 3 days later. Very convenient. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. I always suspected my father had them eliminated to close the loop. No witnesses, no loose ends. So you don't actually know if my father's dead? He's been gone 15 years, Maya. No contact, no sightings, no trace. Either he's dead or he's so deep underground he might as well be. Lorenzo moved closer. Is that why you were running? Because you think I killed him? I don't know what I think anymore. Maya's eyes burned. Everything's so twisted. I came here because my car broke down. Now I'm trapped in your house. People are trying to use me. My daughter's being watched by criminals. And You're what? I'm falling for you. The words came out broken. And I hate myself for it because you're the reason my life fell apart. You're the reason I can't go home. You're holding me here and I should hate you, but I don't, and I don't know what that makes me. Lorenzo's expression cracked. He reached for her, pulled her close, held her while she cried into his expensive shirt. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For all of it. For what my father did. For what I had to do. For putting you in this position. Are you, though? Or are you just sorry it's complicated? Both. Lorenzo's hand moved through her hair. I told myself this was business. Debt collection. Sending a message. But you made it personal. You and Emma and the way you look at me like I might be more than what I am. What are you? Maya pulled back to look at him. Broken. Violent. Built for this life and nothing else. Lorenzo's thumb brushed her cheek. But around you, I remember what it felt like to want something different. What do you want? You, safe, happy, free from all of this. His voice was raw. Which is why tomorrow we're going to that bank, together. We're getting those files, and then we're going to figure out how to get you out of this mess. Just like that? No, not just like that. It's going to be dangerous and complicated, and probably end badly. Lorenzo kissed her forehead. But I'm done pretending this is just business. You're not collateral anymore, Maya. His phone rang. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and his expression went cold. What is it? Maya asked. Lorenzo answered the call on speaker. Marco's voice came through, tense and urgent. We have a problem. Someone just grabbed Emma from Mrs. Chen's apartment. Maya's world stopped. What? 10 minutes ago. Black van. Professional job. Mrs. Chen's unconscious but alive. Building security footage shows 3 men, armed, in and out in under 2 minutes. Marco's voice was grim. They left a note. What does it say? Lorenzo demanded. Bring the files to the old pier on Water Street by midnight. Come alone, or the girl dies. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her baby. Someone had taken her baby. Maya. Lorenzo's hands were on her shoulders. Look at me. Breathe. They took Emma. They took my daughter. I know. And we're going to get her back. Lorenzo's voice was steel. Marco, mobilize everyone. I want the pier surrounded but out of sight. Snipers on the buildings, boats in the water, every advantage we can get. You can't go there, Maya said. It's a trap. I know it's a trap. Lorenzo was already moving, pulling guns from a safe Maya hadn't known existed. That's why we're going to be ready for it. We? You think I'm leaving you here? Lorenzo checked the magazine on a pistol. They'll use Emma to control you, to make you do what they want. I'm not giving them that chance. I'm coming with you. Damn right you are. Lorenzo handed her a smaller gun. You know how to use this? No. Point. Shoot. Don't hesitate. He showed her the safety. Keep it on you. If someone tries to take you, you put 2 bullets in them and you run. Understand? Maya took the gun with shaking hands. We're getting her back? We're getting her back. Lorenzo pulled her close, kissed her hard. I promise you, Maya. Emma comes home tonight, whatever it costs. The next 4 hours were chaos. Maya sat in Lorenzo's office while he coordinated with Marco, with other members of his organization, with people whose names she didn't catch and didn't want to know. Maps appeared. Photos of the pier, escape routes, contingency plans. The Russos, Marco said. Has to be them. They're the only ones with resources to pull this off and motivation to use the kid. Or someone hired them to do it, Lorenzo said. Doesn't matter. By tomorrow morning, the people responsible will be dead. His voice was empty when he said it. No anger, no heat, just cold certainty. This was the Lorenzo everyone else knew, the monster who kept his word about consequences. At 11, they left. Maya sat in the SUV between Lorenzo and Marco, the gun heavy in her jacket pocket. Other vehicles followed, more of Lorenzo's men, armed and dangerous and ready for war. Listen to me, Lorenzo said as they drove. Whatever happens at the pier, you stay behind me. You don't expose yourself. You don't try to be a hero. The second we have Emma, Marco's getting both of you out of there. What about you? I'll be fine. Lorenzo, I'll be fine, he repeated. I've been doing this a long time, Maya. Trust me. The pier was dark except for a few lights along the walkway. The water beyond was black and restless, smelling like oil and dead fish. Maya could see Marco's men positioning themselves in shadows, on rooftops, in boats barely visible on the water. An army preparing for battle. At midnight exactly, headlights appeared. A black van pulled onto the pier, stopped 50 feet away. The side door opened and 2 men got out, dragging a third person between them. Emma. Maya's heart shattered. Her daughter was crying, scared, struggling against the men holding her. She looked so small, so breakable. Easy, Lorenzo murmured, his hand on Maya's arm. We get her back, but we do it smart. One of the men stepped forward. Maya recognized him from the poker game. Dimitri, the one who'd cornered her in the bathroom. Salvatore! Dmitri called. You bring the files? Let the girl go first, Lorenzo shouted back. That's not how this works. Files first, then the kid. I don't have them yet. They're in a bank, safety deposit box. Lorenzo's voice was steady. Let Emma go, and I'll get them tomorrow. You have my word. Dmitri laughed. Your word? The word of a man who'd kill a 5-year-old's grandfather? That word? Everything happened at once. Dmitri pulled a gun, aimed it at Emma. Lorenzo shoved Maya behind a car as gunfire erupted. The pier became chaos. Lorenzo's men shooting from cover, the van's occupants returning fire, Emma screaming in the middle of it all. Maya didn't think. She ran. Straight into the gunfire, toward her daughter, the pistol in her hand feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She saw Dmitri turning toward her, saw his gun coming up, fired without aiming. The bullet went wide but made him dive for cover. Emma! Maya reached her daughter, pulled her close. I've got you, baby. I've got you. Mommy! Emma was sobbing, terrified. I want to go home. We're going home. Right now. Maya turned to run, but someone grabbed her from behind. One of Dmitri's men, bigger and stronger, dragging her backward toward the van. Then Lorenzo was there. He moved like violence was choreographed, disarming the man, breaking his arm, putting him down in 3 seconds flat. He grabbed Maya and Emma, pulled them toward the cars. Marco, get them out of here. Marco appeared, taking Emma from Maya's arms. Come on, we're leaving. Not without Lorenzo, Maya said. He'll be fine. He always is. Marco was already moving. Cars this way. Maya looked back. Lorenzo was still on the pier, surrounded by gunfire and smoke and men trying to kill him. He was fighting like he'd been born for it. Efficient, brutal, unstoppable. But there were so many of them. Lorenzo! She screamed. He looked at her for just a second, smiled, then went back to the fight. Marco got them to the car, pushed them inside. The driver took off before the door was fully closed, tires screaming on the wet pavement. Maya held Emma tight, her daughter's tears soaking through her shirt. It's okay, baby. You're okay. I've got you. Those men were scary, Mommy. I know, but they can't hurt you now. You're safe. Behind them, the gunfire continued. Maya looked out the back window, saw muzzle flashes on the pier, heard explosions that might have been grenades or cars exploding. The pier was a war zone, and Lorenzo was still there. They drove straight to the hospital, Lorenzo's hospital, the one where he had doctors on payroll who didn't ask questions. Emma was checked over, given juice and cookies, treated like she'd just had a bad dream instead of being kidnapped by criminals. Maya sat beside her daughter's bed, holding her hand, trying not to fall apart. Emma finally fell asleep around 2 a.m, exhausted from crying. Maya kept vigil, watching her breathe, making sure she was real. Marco appeared in the doorway at 3. He's on his way, Marco said quietly. It's done. What's done? All of them. The men who took Emma. The people who hired them. Lorenzo made sure they understood the cost of touching what's his. Marco's expression was grim. It wasn't pretty. Is he hurt? He's been shot twice, stabbed once, probably has a concussion, but he's alive and functional, which is more than I can say for the other guys. Marco pulled up a chair. He asked me to tell you something. What? That you should have stayed in the car, that you're crazy for running into gunfire, and that you're braver than anyone he's ever met. Marco's voice softened. He also said to tell you he's sorry, for all of it, for bringing this violence into your life, into Emma's. It's not his fault. My father started this. Maybe, but Lorenzo chose to use you to settle the debt. That's on him. Marco looked at Emma sleeping. He's had people looking for those files all night. The bank opens at 9. We're going in with a full team, getting whatever's in that box and ending this. What if it's empty? What if the files aren't there? Then we keep looking. But one way or another, this ends. Lorenzo's made that very clear. Maya nodded, too tired to argue. She leaned back in the uncomfortable hospital chair and closed her eyes. Lorenzo arrived at dawn, looking like he'd been through a war. Blood on his clothes, bruises darkening his face, moving like everything hurt. But he was alive. He stood in the doorway looking at Emma sleeping, at Maya keeping watch, and something in his expression broke. I'm sorry. he said quietly. You already apologized. I'll keep apologizing until it means something. Lorenzo moved into the room slowly, like he was afraid he might wake Emma. I should have had more guards, should have anticipated this, should have what? Predicted the future? Maya stood, moved to him. You saved her. You saved both of us. After putting you in danger in the first place. My father did that. Maya paused. You just became something I didn't expect. What's that? Someone I trust. She reached up, touched his face gently, careful of the bruises. Someone I love. Lorenzo's eyes widened. Maya. I know it's stupid. I know it's probably trauma or Stockholm syndrome or whatever. But I love you, and I'm tired of pretending I don't. Maya's voice was steady. After we get those files, after this is over, I need to know. Is there an us? Or am I just a problem you're solving? Lorenzo pulled her close, despite the pain it probably caused him. There's an us. There's been an us since you knocked on my door looking like hell and asking for help. I just didn't want to admit it. And now? Now I'm admitting it. You and Emma, you're mine. And I protect what's mine. He kissed her softly. After today, everything changes. I promise you that. Emma stirred in the bed, blinked awake, saw Lorenzo and smiled. Mr. Salvatore, you look like you got in a fight. I did, but I won. Lorenzo smiled back. How are you feeling, brave girl? Okay. The cookies here are good. Emma sat up. Are you and Mommy boyfriend and girlfriend now? Lorenzo looked at Maya. Maya looked at Emma. Yeah, baby, Maya said. I think we are. Good, Emma said seriously. He catches me when I jump. That's important. It is, Lorenzo agreed. Very important. At 9 o'clock, they stood outside First National Bank. Lorenzo, Maya, Marco, and 6 armed guards trying to look like regular people. The bank manager was waiting, clearly nervous about the group that had arrived. We need access to box 447, Lorenzo said. This is Maya Rodriguez, Miguel Rodriguez's daughter and legal heir. I'll need identification and proof of... Lorenzo put a briefcase on the counter, opened it. The manager looked inside and went pale. Right this way, he said quickly. They followed him to the vault. The manager used his key, gestured for Maya to use hers. I don't have a key, Maya said. Then I'm afraid I can't. Where he always kept important things, Maya said suddenly. She pulled out her wallet, dug into the hidden pocket she'd sewn there when she was 17. The pocket where she kept her mother's wedding ring and a small key she'd never known the purpose of. It fit. The box opened. Inside was a thumb drive and a letter. Maya picked up the letter with shaking hands, recognized her father's handwriting. Maya, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. I'm sorry for leaving you the way I did. I'm sorry for a lot of things. The files on this drive can destroy powerful people. People who deserve to be destroyed. But using them will put you in danger. Hide them, keep them safe, or destroy them and walk away. Either way, know that I loved you. Always. Dad. Maya handed the drive to Lorenzo. It's yours. Do whatever you need to do. Lorenzo looked at the drive, at Maya, at the letter still in her hands. Are you sure? I'm sure. My father's past doesn't have to be my future, or Emma's. Maya's voice was steady. End this, however you need to. Lorenzo pocketed the drive. It's already over. They left the bank, got into the SUV. Lorenzo made one call. I have them. Everyone backs off. Now. Or the files go public, and we all burn together. He hung up. It's done. That's it? Maya asked. That's it. Mutually assured destruction. The most reliable form of peace. Lorenzo pulled her close. You're free, Maya. Really free. You can go home, take Emma, live your life. And you? I'm here. For as long as you want me. Maya thought about her apartment, about her old life, about going back to nursing and struggling and being invisible. Then she thought about Emma laughing while Lorenzo caught her, about dinners in expensive dining rooms, about being seen and protected and loved by a man who'd burned the world down to keep her safe. I want to go home, she said, with you, with Emma. Whatever home looks like now. Lorenzo smiled, really smiled. I can work with that. But first, there was one more thing Maya needed to know. Did my father really steal that money, or was he protecting the files? Both, probably, Lorenzo said. The money was a distraction, something to make my father focus on the theft instead of the evidence. Your father was smart. He knew the files were worth more than $3 million, worth enough to keep him alive. And when that didn't work, worth enough to keep you safe. He's really dead? Lorenzo's expression was careful. The men my father sent never came back with a body. They said your father was dead, but I always wondered. My father had them killed so fast, so completely, like he was tying up loose ends. What are you saying? I'm saying it's possible your father survived, went underground, started over somewhere we'd never look. Lorenzo pulled out the letter. This doesn't sound like a dying man's words. It sounds like someone planning for contingencies. Maya looked at the letter, at her father's handwriting, at the words that might have been goodbye or might have been see you later. She didn't know which would hurt less. It doesn't matter, she said finally. He made his choices. I'm making mine. And what choice is that? You, Maya said. Emma. A life that's complicated and dangerous and probably stupid, but it's mine. We'll figure the rest out as we go. Lorenzo kissed her there in the back of the SUV, while Marco pretended not to notice, and armed guards kept watch, and the city moved around them like nothing had changed. But everything had changed, and there was no going back now. 3 days after the pier, Maya woke up in Lorenzo's bed for the first time. Not the guest room, not her assigned room on the 3rd floor. His bed in his private suite, with morning light streaming through windows that overlooked the gardens, and his arm heavy across her waist. Emma was still asleep down the hall in a room they'd spent 2 days converting into something a 5-year-old would love. Pink walls. A canopy bed. Stuffed animals that cost more than Maya used to make in a week. Mrs. Chen had brought over Emma's things yesterday, hugged Maya tight, and whispered that she was glad everything worked out even if she didn't understand exactly what that meant. Lorenzo stirred beside her, winced as the movement pulled at his healing wounds. You should still be resting, Maya said quietly. I've rested enough. His voice was rough with sleep. Besides, I have a meeting in an hour. The families want to discuss terms now that everyone knows the files exist. What kind of terms? The kind where they pretend they weren't trying to kill us last week, and I pretend I'm going to let that slide. Lorenzo sat up carefully. It's going to be a long negotiation. You don't have to come. I'm coming. Maya sat up too. They need to see that I'm not going anywhere, that using me won't work anymore. You're sure? I'm sure. She kissed his shoulder, careful of the bandages. We do this together or not at all? The meeting was held in a conference room at one of Lorenzo's legitimate businesses, a consulting firm that probably did actual consulting between laundering money and facilitating deals that stayed off any legal books. The table was mahogany, the chairs were leather, everything looked respectable except for the men sitting in them. Maya recognized most of them from the fundraiser or from Sophia's lessons. The Russos, the Castellanos, the Blacks, representatives from families whose names she'd learned to recognize and fear, all of them watching her with expressions that ranged from curious to hostile. Lorenzo sat at the head of the table with Maya beside him. Marco stood behind them, along with 2 other guards. The message was clear. This was Lorenzo's meeting, Lorenzo's territory, Lorenzo's rules. Gentlemen, Lorenzo said, thank you for coming. I believe we have matters to discuss. You have matters to explain, someone said. One of the Russos, older, scarred. 3 of my men are dead. You attacked a sanctioned operation. Your men kidnapped a 5-year-old child, Lorenzo said flatly. There's nothing sanctioned about that. And if you think I'm going to apologize for defending what's mine, you don't know me very well. The girl was leverage, business. The girl is off limits. That's the new rule. Children are not leverage, not collateral, not business. Lorenzo's voice was ice. Anyone who violates that rule answers to me personally. Are we clear? Silence around the table. Then Victor Castellano leaned forward. And Miss Rodriguez? Is she off limits too? She's family, Lorenzo said. Which means yes. Touching her is the same as touching me. Family, Victor smiled. That's quite a promotion from collateral. Circumstances changed. I'll say. Victor looked at Maya. No hard feelings about the car ride, I hope. I was merely offering options. Options that would have gotten her killed, Lorenzo said. Let's be clear about what you were really offering, Victor. You wanted the files. You wanted to use Maya to get them. And when she was no longer useful, you would have disposed of her like everyone else in this room would have. That's a harsh accusation, another man said. One of the blacks, younger, wearing a suit that screamed new money, trying to look old. It's the truth. Lorenzo pulled out the thumb drive, set it on the table. Every eye in the room locked onto it. This is what you all want. Evidence of crimes, payoffs, murders. Enough to put everyone in this room away for life. Plus their associates, their families, their entire organizations. Then why haven't you used it? The Russo demanded. Because I'm not stupid. The moment I release this information, I destroy myself along with everyone else. My father's crimes are on here too, his deals, his murders, everything. Lorenzo leaned back. But I'm willing to make copies. Give each family their own insurance. Mutually assured destruction. Nobody can move against anyone else without bringing everyone down. That's insane, Victor said. That's peace, Lorenzo corrected. Real peace. Not the temporary kind we've had for years where everyone's waiting for an opening. This is permanent. None of us can afford to go to war because we're all holding nuclear weapons. The room erupted in argument. Voices talking over each other, accusations flying, threats being made. Maya sat quietly, watching Lorenzo control the chaos with nothing but his presence. He let them argue for exactly 3 minutes. Then he stood. Enough. His voice cut through the noise. Here's what's going to happen. Each of you gets a copy of the files relevant to your organization. Nothing about the others. Just your dirt. You keep it safe. You don't use it unless someone moves against you first. And in return, we all agree. No more attacks. No more kidnappings. No more using family members as leverage. We run our businesses, we avoid each other's territories, and we stop acting like animals. And if someone breaks the rules, the black representative asked, then everyone else destroys them. Lorenzo looked around the table. I'll release everything I have on whoever breaks the peace, and I expect you all to do the same. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. More silence. Then, slowly, one by one, the men at the table nodded. I'll need time to verify the files are real, Victor said. You have 24 hours. Marco will provide copies. Lorenzo picked up the original drive. After that, we're done. The debt Miguel Rodriguez owed is settled. His daughter is under my protection, and anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me personally. The meeting ended. Maya walked out beside Lorenzo, feeling like she'd just witnessed something historical. A war ending not with violence, but with the threat of mutual destruction. Did that actually just work? She asked once they were in the car. We'll see. Give it a week. If nobody's tried to kill us by then, it worked. Lorenzo pulled her close. Either way, you're safe now. That's what matters. But safety turned out to be relative. That night, while Lorenzo was on a call and Emma was watching cartoons, Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then something made her pick up. Hello? Maya. The voice was familiar. Impossibly familiar. It's me. Her father. Maya's knees went weak. She sat down hard on the nearest chair. That's not possible. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Miguel Rodriguez sounded older, tired. I've been following what happened. The kidnapping, the files, Lorenzo. I couldn't stay silent anymore. You've been alive this whole time? Maya's voice shook. All these years you've been alive and you never... I couldn't contact you. It wasn't safe. The people looking for me would have used you to find me, would have hurt you to make me come out of hiding. Miguel's voice cracked. I've been living in South America. New name, new life. But I've been watching, making sure you were okay. I thought you were dead. Mom died thinking you abandoned us. I know, and I'll carry that forever. But I need you to understand, what I stole from the Salvatores wasn't just about money. It was about survival. They were going to kill me for something I witnessed, something I couldn't unknow, so I took the evidence and I ran. And left me to deal with it 15 years later. I never thought they'd find you. You changed your name, moved across the country, built a different life. I thought you were safe. Miguel paused. But Lorenzo found you anyway. And now I need to know, are you safe? Really safe? Or do I need to come back? Maya looked toward the living room where Emma was laughing at something on TV. Thought about Lorenzo upstairs making plans to protect his empire and her along with it. Thought about the life she'd built in the past month. Complicated, dangerous, but hers. I'm safe, she said. Lorenzo's not what you think. He's not his father. He's still a criminal, Maya. So were you. The words came out harder than she meant them. You stole from them. You killed people. I read the files, Dad. I know what you did. Silence on the other end. Then, I did what I had to do to survive, just like you're doing now. I'm not just surviving, I'm living. I have Emma. I have Lorenzo. I have a life that's mine. Maya's throat was tight. And I'm not giving that up. Not for you. Not for anyone. Does he know you're talking to me? Not yet. But I'll tell him. Maya, don't... I love him, Dad. I know that's probably insane. I know it doesn't make sense, but I do. And he loves me, and Emma, and we're building something real here. Maya stood, walked to the window. I'm glad you're alive. I am. But my life is here now. With him. Miguel was quiet for a long time. Okay. Just promise me one thing. What? If it goes wrong, if he hurts you or Emma, you call this number. I'll come get you. I'll make sure you disappear so completely that nobody will ever find you. Miguel's voice was fierce. I failed you once. I won't do it again. Okay, Maya said. I promise. She hung up, stood there shaking until Lorenzo found her. Who was that? He asked. My father. He's alive. Lorenzo's expression went carefully blank. Where is he? South America somewhere. He didn't say exactly where. Maya turned to face him. He wanted to make sure I was safe, that you weren't hurting me. And what did you tell him? That I love you, that I'm staying. Maya moved closer. But I need to know something. If you'd known he was alive, would you have killed him? Lorenzo didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was honest. A month ago? Yes, absolutely, without hesitation. And now? Now I'm standing here with his daughter in my arms, his granddaughter in my house, trying to figure out how to be something other than what my father made me. Lorenzo cupped her face. So no, I wouldn't kill him, but I'd want to, for what he put you through, for the pain he caused. He did what he thought he had to do. So did I when I trapped you here. Lorenzo's thumb brushed her cheek. We're all just trying to survive our father's mistakes. Then let's stop surviving and start living. Maya kissed him. No more debts, no more revenge, just us, our family. Whatever that looks like. I can try. Lorenzo pulled her close. For you, I can try. The weeks that followed were strange and wonderful and occasionally terrifying. Lorenzo kept his word about the files, gave copies to each family, maintained the peace through fear of mutual destruction. It worked. Mostly. There were still tensions, still moments where violence felt inevitable, but it never quite boiled over. Maya went back to nursing, but part-time now, at a clinic Lorenzo funded that served people who couldn't afford regular health care. It felt good to save lives again, to be someone other than Lorenzo Salvatore's partner, to remember who she'd been before everything changed. Emma started at a new school, one with security that would make the Secret Service jealous, but looked like a regular private academy. She made friends, had playdates supervised by armed guards pretending to be regular parents, came home talking about art class and recess, and the boy who'd tried to kiss her cheek and gotten shoved for his trouble. She's tough, Lorenzo said one night, watching Emma demonstrate a self-defense move Marco had taught her. Like her mother. She's 5, Maya said. She shouldn't need to know self-defense. Probably not, but she's growing up in my world. Better she knows how to protect herself. Lorenzo pulled Maya onto his lap. Besides, Marco says she's a natural, fast learner, good instincts. Great. My daughter's going to grow up to be a crime boss, or a bodyguard, or a lawyer, or whatever she wants. Lorenzo kissed Maya's neck. We're giving her options. That's more than either of us had. It wasn't perfect. There were nights Maya woke up from nightmares about the pier, about Emma screaming, about bullets and blood and losing everything. There were arguments when Lorenzo's world crashed into hers in ways she couldn't ignore. There were moments when she questioned whether this was really the life she wanted. But then Lorenzo would catch Emma when she jumped off increasingly dangerous heights. Or he'd show up at the clinic with lunch when Maya forgot to eat. Or he'd hold Maya through the nightmares and promise that nothing would hurt her again. And she'd remember why she stayed. 2 months after the files deal, on a Saturday morning that felt almost normal, Lorenzo asked Maya to marry him. They were in the kitchen, the actual kitchen, not the formal dining room, making pancakes with Emma, flour everywhere. Emma covered in syrup, Lorenzo attempting to flip a pancake and failing spectacularly. "This is harder than it looks," he said, staring at the pancake that had landed half on the pan, half on the stove. "That's because you're doing it wrong," Emma informed him. "You have to use the flipper thing." "The spatula." "The flipper thing," Emma insisted. Maya laughed, feeling something settle in her chest. This was what she wanted. Not the mansion or the money or the protection, just this. Lorenzo covered in flour, Emma critiquing his cooking, Saturday morning chaos that felt like family. "Marry me," Lorenzo said suddenly. Maya almost dropped the bowl she was holding. "What?" "Marry me. Make this official. Let me give you and Emma my name and everything that comes with it." Lorenzo set down the spatula, took her flour-covered hands in his. "I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I've spent my whole life doing things the smart way, the calculated way, and it never made me happy. You make me happy. Emma makes me happy. I want this to be permanent." "Are you asking because you love me or because it consolidates power?" Maya asked. "Both." "Is that allowed?" Emma tugged on Lorenzo's sleeve. "If you marry Mommy, does that make you my dad?" Lorenzo looked down at her, his expression soft. "If you want me to be." Emma considered this seriously. "Will you still catch me when I jump?" "Always." "Okay, then yes." Emma grinned. "But I get to be in the wedding and wear a big dress and throw flowers." "Deal." Lorenzo looked back at Maya. "What do you say?" Maya thought about her father hiding in South America, about her mother dying bitter and abandoned, about all the ways love could go wrong, especially in a world built on violence and secrets. Then she thought about Lorenzo choosing mercy over revenge, about building something legitimate to honor the lives lost, about catching children when they jumped and keeping promises even when they cost him. "Yes," she said, "on one condition. Name it. We do this right. I want a real marriage, not a business arrangement that happens to include feelings. Real partnership, real honesty, no more secrets." "No more secrets," Lorenzo agreed. "Starting now. Ask me anything." "Did you really order the Russos killed after the pier?" "Yes, all of them. The men who took Emma and the people who gave the order." Lorenzo's voice was steady. "I'd do it again." "I know, and I'm okay with that, which probably makes me a terrible person." Maya pulled him closer. "But I need you to promise me something else." "What?" "We find a way out, maybe not today, maybe not this year, but eventually we transition everything to legitimate business. No more violence, no more wars. We build something Emma can be proud of." Lorenzo was quiet for a moment. "That's a big ask." "I know, but it's important to me. I can't raise my daughter in a world where people get kidnapped and shot." Maya's voice was firm. "If we're doing this, if we're really building a life together, it has to be a life I can live with." "Okay," Lorenzo said finally, "we'll find a way. I don't know how yet, but we'll figure it out. Promise?" "I promise." He kissed her, tasting like syrup and flour and new beginnings. "Now can we finish these pancakes before Emma eats all the batter?" "I'm not eating it," Emma protested, chocolate chips smeared around her mouth. "I'm taste testing." They got married 3 months later in the garden behind the house. Small ceremony, just family and the people who mattered. Marco stood as best man. Sophia helped Maya pick a dress that was beautiful without being flashy. Emma wore pink and took her flower girl duties so seriously that she corrected the photographer on proper petal distribution. Miguel didn't come. Maya had called to invite him, but he'd said it was safer if he stayed away. That showing up might bring attention neither of them wanted. She understood. Didn't mean it didn't hurt. But Lorenzo's family filled the empty spaces. People who'd been strangers 2 months ago now felt like actual relatives. Marco's sister flew in from her safe house and told embarrassing stories about Lorenzo as a teenager. Older members of the organization showed up to pay respects, their presence a sign that this marriage meant something in their world. When Lorenzo said his vows, his voice was steady. I promise to protect you and Emma with everything I have, to build the life you deserve, to be the man you see when you look at me instead of the monster everyone else knows. I can't promise perfect, but I can promise real. Maya's vows were simpler. I promise to stay, to fight for this, to remind you every day that you're more than your father's legacy, and to love you through whatever comes next. They kissed while Emma cheered and Marco whistled and Sophia dabbed at her eyes pretending it was allergies. The reception was in the ballroom they'd converted into something less intimidating. Real food instead of fancy nonsense. Music that made people dance instead of just stand around looking sophisticated. Emma fell asleep on Lorenzo's shoulder around 9, syrup sticky and happy. She's going to be impossible tomorrow, Maya said, watching her daughter drool on her new husband's expensive suit. Worth it. Lorenzo adjusted Emma carefully. Should we put her to bed? Probably, but let's stay a few more minutes. I want to remember this. They stayed, danced slowly with Emma between them, let the moment stretch out until it felt permanent. When they finally went upstairs, Lorenzo carried Emma to her room, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. Night, kiddo, he whispered. Night, Dad, Emma mumbled, already half asleep. Lorenzo froze, looked at Maya with an expression she'd never seen before. Vulnerable, overwhelmed, grateful. She called me Dad, he said quietly once they were in the hallway. She did. Is that okay? It's perfect. Lorenzo pulled Maya close. Everything's perfect. It wasn't, of course. Perfect didn't exist in their world. There were still threats, still challenges, still moments when Lorenzo's past came crashing into their present in violent ways. But 6 months after the wedding, Lorenzo made good on his promise. He started transitioning the organization, shutting down illegal operations, moving money into legitimate businesses, cutting ties with people who wouldn't adapt to the new structure. It wasn't easy. There were people who resisted, who thought Lorenzo was going soft, who tried to take advantage of what they saw as weakness. Victor Castellano made a move on one of Lorenzo's territories. Lorenzo responded not with violence, but with lawyers and documentation that proved Victor had been skimming from his own family for years. Victor was gone within a week, exiled by his own people. The blacks tried to restart the drug trade Lorenzo had shut down. Lorenzo bought the building they were using, evicted them, turned it into a community center. When they threatened retaliation, he reminded them about the files, about mutually assured destruction. They backed off. Slowly, painfully, the empire transformed. Not into something innocent, Lorenzo would never be innocent, but into something cleaner, more sustainable, something Emma could inherit someday without it destroying her. Maya went back to nursing full-time, taking a position at the hospital where this had all started. It felt like coming full circle. Every time she drove past the parking lot where her car had broken down, she thought about that night, about knocking on a stranger's door, about how one moment of desperation had changed everything. A year after the wedding, on a Tuesday that felt like any other, Maya came home to find Lorenzo in Emma's room. They were building a blanket fort, arguing about structural integrity. It needs more pillows, Emma insisted. More pillows will make it collapse, Lorenzo said. We need better support beams. They're blankets, not beams. The principle is the same. Maya leaned against the doorframe, watching them. Her daughter, her husband, her improbable family built from debt and violence and a broken-down car. Room for one more? She asked. Always, Lorenzo said, making space. Maya crawled into the fort, settled between them. Emma immediately started explaining the complex rules of the game they were about to play. Lorenzo listened seriously, asking questions like blanket fort protocol was the most important thing in the world. This was the life Miguel had died protecting, the life Lorenzo had killed to defend, the life Maya had chosen despite every reason to run. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was theirs. 2 years after that night at the pier, Lorenzo officially retired from active leadership of the organization. handed control to Marco, who'd proven himself capable of running things the new way. Lorenzo kept a seat on the board, maintained oversight, but stepped back from daily operations. "I want to do something different," he told Maya one night, "something that actually helps people instead of just controlling them." They started a foundation, named it after Lorenzo's mother, who died when he was young and never gotten to see what her son had become. The foundation funded healthcare clinics, job training programs, housing for people transitioning out of prison. Everything Lorenzo's world had destroyed, they now tried to rebuild. Emma grew up knowing her father ran a foundation, not a crime family. Knew her mother saved lives at the hospital. Knew her grandfather had made mistakes but was still alive somewhere, sending cards on birthdays even if he couldn't visit. She grew up safe, protected, loved, with a father who caught her when she jumped, and a mother who taught her that strength meant choosing kindness even when violence was easier. On what would have been Miguel Rodriguez's 70th birthday, Maya got a package. No return address. Inside was a photo of her father on a beach somewhere tropical, smiling, looking healthier than he had in her childhood memories. On the back, written in his handwriting, "You did good, kiddo. Better than I ever could have. Live well. Love hard. I'm proud of you." Maya put the photo in her bedside drawer. Didn't tell Lorenzo. Some secrets were worth keeping. Some doors were better left closed. That night, she crawled into bed beside her husband, listened to Emma singing to herself in the next room, and felt something settle in her chest. Peace. Real peace. Not the kind enforced by threats and files and mutually assured destruction, the kind that came from choosing your family and fighting for it every single day. Lorenzo pulled her close. "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." Maya kissed his shoulder. "Just thinking about how weird life is. How I ended up here." Knocked on the wrong door. "Right door, wrong circumstances." Maya smiled. "But we made it work." "We did." Lorenzo's hand moved through her hair. "And we're going to keep making it work. Whatever comes next." What came next was 10 more years of building and growing and occasionally dealing with threats from people who didn't understand that the old ways were dead. What came next was Emma graduating high school, getting accepted to college, choosing to study social work because she wanted to help people the way her parents had learned to. What came next was Lorenzo's hair going fully gray, Maya's laugh lines deepening, the house filling with memories instead of fear. What came next was a life neither of them had planned, but both of them had fought for. On their 10th anniversary, they went back to that pier. The one where bullets had flown and Emma had screamed and everything had nearly ended. It was different now, cleaned up, turned into a public park with benches and walkways and families fishing off the edge. "Hard to believe this is the same place," Maya said. "It's not really." Lorenzo took her hand. "We rebuilt it, like we rebuilt everything else." "Do you ever regret it? Giving up the power?" "Sometimes. Usually when someone cuts me off in traffic and I can't do anything about it." Lorenzo smiled. "But then I come home to you and Emma, and I remember why I did it. Power's not worth anything if you're alone." Cheesy. True, though. Maya leaned against him, watching the sunset paint the water orange and gold. "You know what I think about sometimes?" "What?" "That night my car broke down. How close I came to knocking on a different door, going to a different house. How none of this would have happened if I just turned left instead of right." "Universe works in mysterious ways," Lorenzo said. "You don't believe in the universe. You believe in consequences and careful planning." "I believe in you? That's enough." Lorenzo turned her to face him. 10 years, Maya. 10 years since you knocked on my door looking like hell and asking for help. Best worst decision you ever made." "Best worst decision," Maya agreed. She kissed him there on the pier where violence had once ruled, where their story had almost ended before it really began. "Here's to 10 more." 10 more, Lorenzo echoed. They stayed until the sun set completely, until the park lights came on, until the families fishing packed up and went home. Then they drove back to their house, smaller now, less fortress-like since the threats had faded, and found Emma in the kitchen attempting to bake them an anniversary cake. "It's a little lopsided," Emma said, gesturing to the creation that looked more like modern art than dessert. "But I followed the recipe. Mostly." "It's perfect," Maya said. "It's terrifying," Lorenzo corrected. "But we'll eat it anyway." They did. The three of them, in the kitchen that had seen flower fights and serious conversations, and a proposal that changed everything. The cake was dry and the frosting was too sweet, but they ate every bite because this was family. This was home. And later, after Emma had gone to bed and Lorenzo and Maya were alone in the quiet house, Maya thought about her father's words. Live well. Love hard. She'd done both. Despite everything, despite the violence and fear and impossibility of it all, she'd built a life worth living with a man who'd learned to be more than his father's legacy and a daughter who'd never have to carry debts she didn't create. It wasn't the life she'd planned, wasn't the life she'd thought she wanted when she was working those double shifts at the hospital, driving that broken car, barely surviving. But it was better. Messier and more complicated and occasionally terrifying, but better. Real. And as Lorenzo pulled her close and Emma's soft snoring drifted from down the hall, and the house settled into peaceful darkness, Maya realized something she'd never quite put into words before. She was happy, not despite everything that had happened, but because of it. Because that desperate knock on a stranger's door had led to this. To family. To love. To a second chance neither of them had deserved, but both of them had fought for. The debt was paid. The files were buried. The wars were over. And what remained was just life. Beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary life. I love you, Maya whispered into the darkness. I love you too, Lorenzo whispered back. And in that moment, in that house, with that family, everything else fell away. The past didn't matter. The mistakes didn't matter. The violence and fear and impossible circumstances that had brought them together didn't matter. All that mattered was this, now, them, together, home.